Hey everybody, Chris McHale here with EasyAgentPro. As per our regular scheduled thing, every other Wednesday we do have this really cool class where we sit in, talk specific strategies for you to generate leads online for your real estate business. Carrying on with the last tradition of the last the last two classes, we do have another special guest with you for you today. His name is Rhett King. He's a content creator, marketer, general master of that type of aspect of business. Say hey, Rhett, or hi, Rhett.
Hi, everybody. How you guys doing?
So with that said, we did also do a podcast about similar information. If you did want it in audio form, go ahead and check our podcast. I'll link it in the chat. Rhett's going to have a really great presentation for you folks. If you do have questions, put them in the chat. I'll try and answer them to the best of my ability. If I cannot, we'll have Rhett answer them as well. So Rhett, go ahead and take it away, my dude.
Awesome. So hi, everybody. Hope you guys are doing well. And again, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to just learn something new. So the presentation I'm giving you guys today is called More Than an Agent. And basically it was inspired by the idea that agents should be thought of as more than just an agent. And so kind of an analogy for this is with Nike. The reason we connect with Nike is they're not just talking about their shoes. They're talking about way more than that. They have so many athletes and so many different stories that they're telling, and it's the stories that connect to us on an emotional level. So my goal of this presentation is for you guys to have some strategies and some takeaways that can help you stand out as more than just an agent, but more as like a friend, a trusted advisor, and really a community leader. So here's some of the problems and some of the things that I see that are inhibiting agents from doing this. So the first thing is kind of the wrong marketing mindset. And a lot of agents look at marketing as just checking boxes. There's maybe a bunch of different magazines, a bunch of different newspapers, maybe even new technologies that you see other agents using, so you just do it too. And so there's no necessarily strategy or long-term commitment that goes along with this. And another kind of fault in the marketing mindset is that a lot of agents confuse advertising and marketing. So like I was saying with the Nike example, the thing that separates Nike is the stories they tell. They're not just advertising, they're not just talking about their shoes. So when agents are only talking about their listings and that's the only thing they're advertising, that's not really marketing, because marketing is really growing equity in your brand and so that people connect with you, not just your business. So this kind of goes into the last point of how agents are really only providing value at the transaction. So the goal would be to provide value beforehand by creating and establishing and growing these relationships, continue to provide value as they actually are clients of yours, and then continuing to grow and foster that relationship after the deal has been gone so that you can either, again, have that client return in a few years from now or get referrals from it. All right, so the goal with this whole presentation would be to first inspire a marketing strategy that can be maintained for the lifetime of your career. So like I said before, there's a lot of different things that agents are trying out. We're at this pinnacle in that really the course of human history where communications, connections, everything is being revolutionized the way that we communicate with one another. And so there's a lot of different technologies coming out, but if we just keep trying something for 3 months or 6 months, there's not going to ever be a long-term result. You have to be thinking long-term and doing long-term things to get that long-term result. So kind of the ability to do that would be through becoming a better content creator and storyteller. So the better you can connect with people on an emotional level, the better you're going to grow those relationships and grow that trust. So at the end of the day, we're trying to make connections, build trust, and then grow your community by using social media. So why should you listen to me? So I'm actually a licensed real estate agent myself and was mentored by the #1 broker for Sully's Malibu office. I went to Pepperdine and graduated in marketing communications. And while I was there is when I did real estate around the Malibu area. I'm also a social media influencer myself. That's what got me into social media. Was the same time I got my real estate license, I was working with that agent and started doing my own social media and grew my own following from 0 to 100,000 in 9 months. Started doing it for him. And then he recommended me, referred me to his mastermind group. And then my business has grown since then. And that was about 4 years ago. And now with that account, I mentioned we reach around 5 million, actually approaching close to 10 million this month. So that's been really exciting. And our agents do around $1 billion in sales combined annually. And I love to study and research human behavior and biology. So I'll be talking about that a little bit throughout this. So first kind of step into biology and just human behavior is connection, the most basic human need. So connection involves trust from shared values and beliefs, and every decision that we make in our life is a form of communication. So everything from the words we say to how we say them to how we dress and what we wear, these are all symbols that mean something to somebody else. So a great example of this is just jerseys. And for sports teams, if you wear a jersey or a certain hat and somebody else happens to be a fan of that team, that's an immediate connection. For me personally, I'm a musician, so when I see somebody else that is wearing maybe a band t-shirt of a small band or an independent group that most people don't know, I automatically have a sense of trust and connection with this person just because of that symbol. So social media is the greatest communication vehicle in history, where we can actually talk about what's true to us and what is interesting to us, and then start forming those more solid connections and start to build that trust. So let's go a little bit deeper into building trust. So trust is a uniquely human feeling. And the interesting thing about this is that our limbic brain is responsible for our feelings and for all of our behavior and decision making, but not responsible for analytical thinking or language. So it's our newer developed brain, which is called the neocortex, that is responsible for analytical thinking and language. And what's so interesting about this is because our limbic brain is responsible for all of our feelings, our behavior, and decision making, we actually base decisions on emotions and then justify them later with logic, because that part of our brain that actually makes decisions has no concept of being able to understand language or logic. It's the other part of our brain. So this is important to note because, again, we're trying to build trust and trying to build connections. We don't want to just talk about everything that we've accomplished and talk about listings and all these numbers. Those don't resonate with people. It's the emotional connections that do. And so this is a quote by Seth Godin, who's one of the great thought leaders and marketers of our generation. And he said that we live not in an industrial economy, but in a connection economy, not based on who you know, but who trusts you and what you have access to. So the interesting thing to note about this is an industrial economy was think about Henry Ford, where you're trying to manufacture as many things as possible in the quickest amount of time so that you can make the highest amount of profit. Later, we moved to more of an advertising TV model where we would try to get out a message to as many people as possible. And if we could get this message out to the masses, we would be profitable, because get it to enough people will buy. And now things have become a lot more niched. And just kind of an interesting example of this is, like I said, I'm a musician myself. And this is the first year, is either this year or coming into 2019, 2020. It's the first year ever that independent artists as a whole are making more money than artists on a label. And the reason why is we have so much access to different things that we're able to be more specific with who we trust and what we consume and what we like. Because you could be into jazz, reggae, funk, fusion, and there's a band that does that. Whereas before it's just jazz, or before it's just this or just that. And so now you're able to really build those trust and that connection with people that have those different various interests as you do. And the other kind of side point to think about this is it says who trusts you and what do you have access to. So understand just in that sentence, the trust is the first component of that. What do you have access to, which is basically your knowledge, your experience, your connections, your expertise. That's the second part. If you don't build that trust first, people don't care what you have access to. All right, so this is kind of how we start building trust through social media, becoming a content creator and storyteller. So the first thing to think about is, what is it that most interests you and what do you love talking about? So we've heard in business school all the time that target demographic, what are they interested in? What are their psychographics, their behavior traits, all these different things. And of course, that's important. But at the end of the day, what's more important to speak your truth and connect with the people that resonate with that. As I said earlier, connections is shared values and shared beliefs. So talk about what is it that actually interests you. The second part of that, after more of just you and forming those more emotional connections, is understanding your strengths and the overall value that you offer. So this is more on the real estate side and more your expertise. So what are the common questions that buyer and sellers ask? What are these different problems that you can solve? And maybe even different stories you ran into and how you overcame that obstacle and got the seller or buyer the result that they were looking for. And then lastly, what are others talking about? And one way to easily find this out is just to scroll through your newsfeed. So what is interesting to you and why? What can you insert your opinion on? So as much as I'm big into creating original content, it's also really important to be good at curating content and finding things that people are talking about and trending. And you can simply even share those articles to Facebook and then add a little comment to it, a little caption to it, just insert your opinion on it. And kind of an example of what we just did for a client recently and how we kind of rode a wave of a trend was I have a client in Lake Oswego near Portland, Oregon, actually part of Portland, Oregon, and she has a large house there for sale that's kind of too spread out. And so she was noticing that families weren't very interested in it because it was too spread out. And so there was a story that she's seen on Facebook and that was really trending, and a lot of different news stations were picking up. And it was about these 6 women who basically decided to save up money together so they could die and retire together in this big old mansion that they all bought together. And so she thought, hey, let's actually try marketing the property as this. So we took the idea of this trending headline that had been going around and basically put it into an advertisement. And I think I am on screen share. Just give me 2 seconds if this does not freeze. Let me try to pull this up real quick. I can show you this ad. Here we go. And so we did this ad, and you can see a part of it right here where it says, have you heard about the 7 girlfriends who bought a mansion together to retire in? Starting to think this Lake Oswego lakefront home would be just perfect for that, blah, 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 and some more there. And the other thing is with the picture there, we did 2 pictures of the property that really highlight the property, and then 1 picture of her with her girlfriends just to, again, symbolize what we're trying to go for. And then there's the title, Lake Oswego Retired Girlfriend Sanctuary. And there was an open house. So we did an open house, and ended up being, and we had wine, it was a whole event really geared towards that. So the important thing with the advertising side is that the advertisement actually was geared towards, like the copy of it was geared towards these women, like it was talking specifically to them. And the great part about social media advertising is that you can actually target these specific people. So it's a lot more efficient. So for real estate ads, the industry average cost per click is $1.80. For this one, we got cost for only about 9 to 10 cents. So for $50, you got 500 clicks to your website. And the interesting thing, what's great about having EasyAgentPro websites is you don't even have to set up a landing page to capture these leads. We just set it up to run traffic to our actual site because we didn't want to we didn't want them to have to put in their info for this. But people ended up putting in their info because they wanted to get more info about this listing. And people from the Facebook ad actually showed up at the open house. And so that's just a small example of how powerful ads can be, especially when you're very specific with them. All right, so let's go into a little bit more tactics as far as how to create content and kind of how to tell your story. So the first thing to think about is document. So one of the big things for social media now is document, don't create. Again, it's really a balance. When I say don't create, you still want to create, but documenting is a huge, huge part of that. So create relatable, interesting, or humorous stories out of everyday life. I mean, from your kids to work to all the different things that go on in your everyday life, your clients are dealing with the same things. So again, they don't want to talk about real estate because that's not their world. That's not their life. They want to talk about things that are their life. So by showing them that you're a part of that community or part of that tribe as well, you start really growing those connections. And the easy thing about this too is there doesn't need to be this over-the-top production, all these things going on. It can be really simple, just telling a 30-second, 60-second story. The second part would be video series. So these would be more created in an extent. But for these, all you really need to do is buy a tripod off Amazon for, I think, $12 and set up your iPhone and you're good to go. And so how these work is I recommend either time chunking or creating a routine. So either say, hey, I'm going to make 1 video every single Monday, or hey, I'm going to make 5 videos every single Monday for the month. So making a routine out of this is huge. And so for a video series, I recommend that every agent has 2 video series. One would be something that's a passion of yours. So if you're into music, if you're into cooking, if you're into movies, if you're into shoes, whatever you're into, create a weekly video series about that where you talk about it. Because again, there's people that wouldn't have connected with you or wouldn't have necessarily chose you as an agent before, but by seeing that you're passionate and interested about the other things, and even if they're not even interested in the same things as you, but just your ability to be able to show your personality through this will create a lot more of those connections. And the second video series that I recommend everybody do is something on actually real estate. So simply it could be weekly, you answer a common question that buyers and sellers have, or again, different stories that you've encountered. So the thing to keep in mind with all this is to be consistent and committed. The only way to get people to commit to you is to commit to them. So just like I said at the beginning of this webinar is I want these to be lifetime strategies. And understand that regardless if you believe in social media or you believe in Facebook or Instagram, it doesn't matter. Communications has been drastically revolutionized at this time in history. And so the ability to literally record a message on your phone and then put that out to a group of people that would be interested in it is not going away. So regardless of whatever the main platform is of distribution, this and the vehicle for that might change over the years. I'm sure it will, but the ability to actually communicate hasn't. So this is a skill set, just like you need to become a good negotiator to be successful in real estate. Becoming a good content creator and storyteller is crucial if you want to become a good marketer and really grow your business and overall brand. All right, so along with these different video ideas and content curating ideas, another idea is to, one, have events that are actually going on in your city that are already organized by your city or other people, and create an events calendar on your website, and maybe post about it once a month, and hopefully show up to these as well. And additionally, it would be great to create your own events. And I strongly recommend every single person has an annual event. And so I have an agent that I work with that he started an event actually probably about 10 years ago, really, just the beginning of social media, really even maybe slightly before it. And he had created this charity event, and only about 10 people did it, went to the first one. And so they were just donating toys. And now fast forward 10 years later, this is a huge, big event in San Francisco that it's like the event to go to. And so understand that everything obviously always starts small, but by creating some type of annual event, and like I said at the beginning of this, creating a lifetime marketing strategy, that will really pay off. So some ideas: movie screening, finale of a TV show, Bachelorette was just finished, playoff games for sports. That's an interesting one. Chris and I were talking about a scavenger hunt on the podcast, and he had a really good idea about how basically you could get together with some other agents, and maybe at each open house, you create an advertisement for this ahead of time. And then at each open house, there's maybe a single ticket. And if you collect all 3 tickets from these different open houses, at the end, you get a bottle of wine. And again, open houses are one of the best ways to do lead generation and get new business. So by making it more of an actual experience and something that people connect with and make it fun, they're going to remember you a lot more than the agent who just handed them their business card and a listing sheet. And some other ideas, of course: live music, wine, whiskey night, poker, blackjack, painting day or some type of arts and crafts day, barbecue. So again, find what is interesting to you and that you'd like to do, and then make an event about it and just make it, organic. So next I want to dig in a little bit more into like the specifics of social media and each kind of individual platform. And we'll focus on Facebook, Instagram, and a little bit of LinkedIn for this. So Instagram is my specialty. That's where I've grown my following, and that's what I think is the best overall branding tool for agents and marketing tool. And so this will be a little bit more dense than the other ones. So first, let's first talk about understanding the algorithm. So the algorithm is super important to know. One second. What's very interesting about the algorithm is the basic way that it works is Instagram wants to show people what they want to see. So every time you go on your phone and you're liking content, commenting on things, engaging in things, watching videos, your Instagram, Facebook, whatever platform you're on is tracking what you're doing, and then wants to, next time you go on, show you similar stuff. So it creates that feedback loop. So the important thing to note for a real estate agent is, say you post, when you post, maybe they'll show it to the next 20 people that come on their phone. And if a small percentage of those people like the post, the next 20 of your followers that go on and open up Instagram, they're going to show it to less of those people, because it's like, oh, these other people didn't like it, so we don't think these other people will either. The same is true if you have good content. If you post something that's more engaging and that people find more interesting or valuable for some reason, and they engage with it, then the next 20 people that come on, then they're going to show it to more of those people, and that's how you start growing. And so what's interesting about this as well is then Instagram will start showing your content to the Explorer page, the top of the hashtags, which we'll get into in a moment. But it'll just give you more chances to drive traffic to your page and get more exposure. And so what's really important about Instagram is that, again, like I said before, is staying consistent, because that's how you start building that momentum. When you keep consistently putting out good content that people are relating to, people are engaging with, Instagram keeps showing it to more and more people, and that's how you start growing. All right, so let's talk about a few of the features of Instagram. So one is IGTV. Really the main important thing to note about this is that Instagram used to only allow you to do 1-minute videos. Now you can upload over 1 minute up to 10 minutes. And I think if you have a certain amount of followers, they'll let you do even like an hour or something like that. But that probably won't really be necessary. The point of this is just to be able to upload videos that are over 1 minute. The cool thing is now you can do them either vertically, where it takes up the whole screen vertically, or you can do like a cool listing video where it's horizontal, and now Instagram allows it to where you can flip your phone sideways and it will be a full screen thing. So it's a lot more engaging, and those are just, a good way to post videos as well. The story feature is more behind the scenes. So a hard post is basically on your actual feed, and then a story is when it's on that little story button. So basically, say maybe on a Friday, you could post something about an open house coming up for Saturday or Sunday. And then while you're at the open house, you might want to do more behind the scenes stuff, maybe walk around the house, maybe even get on camera for a minute and say something about the house. These things you might want to just put on your story. And those are the ones that last 24 hours. And then a highlight are the little circles within your Instagram bio, where you can put different things like open houses, lifestyle, listings, dog, family, kids, all these different things. So again, this is for you to speak about what you're interested in. So you could have one, like for mine, it might say real estate, social media, music, and then family. And so when you post things to your story, you can then upload them to these individual highlights. And this is just kind of a good way for people right off the bat when they come to your profile, see what you're interested in and kind of see your story along with all the things you've also been posting. The other feature I'll mention is live video. So live video is one of those things that isn't like the most beneficial thing in the world specifically for real estate agents. But it is good maybe once in a while. Maybe instead of doing a story at an open house, you do it live. Maybe only 3 people watch it. Don't get discouraged. The cool thing that I really like about live videos, especially for creating content and for, like I was saying earlier about documenting and creating a video series, just getting used to speaking on camera and doing it live where you can mess up and you have to keep going and you don't always get your point across as you'd like, kind of, again, just builds up the skill set. So again, I don't want this just to be about Instagram, just about Facebook, or just about social media. This is more about really becoming a more effective communicator in the 21st century and using the different tools and vehicles that we have to do that. All right, so next is getting discovered and really growing your Instagram account. So first we'll talk about hashtags. Hashtags is probably the thing that I get more questions about than anything. So the first thing we like to know is that you can use up to 30 hashtags, and I recommend that you use up to 30. So next question would be, how do you choose your hashtags? So we have to first understand how hashtags work, or the purpose of them. So the purpose of hashtags is for people to search things, to discover new things from other people they hadn't seen yet before. So when people use like hashtag their name or whatever it is, that doesn't work as well because people aren't looking up your name. And if they're looking up your name, they'll find your account. You don't need to hashtag it. So the purpose of hashtags, again, is to be discovered. So the way you choose your hashtags is choosing relevant ones to whatever you're talking about. So if you're talking about your listings, all the different ones related to real estate. And when you type in a hashtag, it'll show you how many times it's been used, how many times it's been posted. So what you want to choose is hashtags between around 100,000 posts to maybe 2, 3 million, 5 million posts max. The reason being is if you choose hashtags that are really small, like I said, nobody's searching for them. So it's kind of a just useless space. You're not going to really get any more traction or get discovered from them. If you use ones that are too big, so many people are using these ones so frequently throughout the world that within a few seconds, your hashtag is going to get buried. So it's most beneficial to use ones that are not too small, but also not too big. So somewhere in the middle ground. Additional kind of what I like to do is have a basis of different groups of hashtags. So I might have hashtags I use for more interior photos of houses, exterior houses, ones for lifestyle, ones for various things, whatever you're interested in. So again, if you have a video series, use maybe 15 of your ones related to real estate, related to your city, and do another 15 that are related to just cooking or just shoes or whatever your video series is on. The last important thing to know, actually 2 more important things to note about hashtags. The first thing to note is that you need to put them not in the captions, but in the comments. So you don't need to put them in the captions for them to still be effective. You can put them in the comments as well. And this is just nice because when they're in the captions, it kind of clutters up the post. But if you put them in the comments, like basically you post, you have these hashtags saved in the notes in your phone, you copy, right after you post, you then paste it in the first comments, and then they still are just as effective. And the last thing to note about hashtags is, again, why they're so important, is that now you can follow hashtags. And this is why it's important also to use ones that are relevant to what you're actually posting about. So you can follow hashtags. So what that means is, just as you can follow an account and you get their photos in your feed, you'll get, if somebody's following hashtag real estate, they'll be getting different people who are using that tag from around the world. So again, the more engagement you're getting and the better quality your content is, the more Instagram's going to want to show it to other people to get you discovered. And this also works on the downside, where if, say, Instagram actually does show your content for some reason, but say it's not the correct hashtag, and so people don't engage with it as much because it was kind of incorrectly hashtagged, then Instagram's going to kind of penalize you, not show it as much. So I wouldn't worry about that side too much. It doesn't really come into play too often. But again, the goal is find hashtags that are around 100,000 to a couple million posts, and you can use up to 30, put them in the comments. All right, next part of getting discovered is following. So this is a method I recommend for agents when they're just starting their Instagram account or trying to get that first couple thousand followers. It is not a long-term growth strategy by any means, but it is good to get the ball rolling. So what you do basically is find the other agents and other things in your city. So for example, if you're going to start kind of talking about food as part of your kind of brand, and that's one of your interests or one of your passions, find other food bloggers in your area. So find whatever it is you're talking about. If you're talking about real estate and food, real estate and shoes, whatever it is, find the other accounts in your city that are doing that as well, talking about those things, and simply follow their followers. That's a great way. Whenever you follow them, they get a notification. And again, if it's relevant, because they're already following other real estate accounts, or they're following these other interests that you're talking about, when they come to your account and see, oh, hey, this person's talking about it, and it seems interesting to them, you'll get a follow back. So that's a good way to get your following growing. And an app that I recommend for everybody is called Cleaner for Instagram. Cleaner for Instagram. And what that app does is it basically allows you to unfollow people. So you can only follow so many people, so you have to kind of have this cycle of following, unfollowing. And basically what the app does, which is really nice, is it will find other people that aren't following you back. So it's fine to unfollow them, they're not following you back anyways. And then at night, you can simply press a button and it will unfollow them for you. And so that's the really cool thing. And one thing to note real quick about following is there is a limit. So you only follow between 20 to 50 people in every hour or two, and don't follow more than a few hundred people a day. So again, this is a good way, just while you're throughout your day, just doing random things, and you have a 2-minute window in between meetings, in between calls, or you're just on your phone scrolling through your newsfeed. Instead, put it towards just following some people, and you really start getting your account growing. My dad's a musician as well, and I told him this method for his band's account, and he literally grew, I think, 1,000 followers in the first week, which I was like shocked about, but it actually literally worked for him too. So the next thing I'll talk about is commenting. This is, again, another thing you can do just in a couple minutes here and there throughout your day. My account that I mentioned before that I've grown tremendously has been started off by me just spending a few minutes every day. Instead of playing games or apps on my phone or scrolling through my own newsfeed, I just put it towards growing my own account. So the commenting thing is the same thing. So how this strategy works is you follow the other accounts within your niche that are usually larger. So this might be on more of a national scale to start kind of growing your account. So usually it's accounts that have 100,000, 500,000, 1 million followers. So maybe even find like Ryan Serhant or those other guys that are $1 million listing, and those type of accounts, or Boss Homes or Luxury Listings, these other big, more national real estate related accounts. And what you do here is you turn on post notifications for these accounts that you're following. And what it does is whenever these larger accounts post, now you get notified. So you can go check it out and comment on it. And what happens is Instagram now allows you to like comments. And so Instagram then sorts the comments based on the amount of likes they get. So this is beneficial for you because these pages that have 1 million followers are getting hundreds of thousands of people looking at every single post they have. So if you can be one of the first people to comment, and you comment something genuine, not just nice photo, but something actually interesting, and insert your opinion and your authority on the photo, then that will give you a better chance that people actually like it. And then because more people like it, more people see it. And that, again, percentage of those people then trickle down and check out your account, and percentage of those people follow you. So again, it's just kind of like laying these little spider webs out there of just different ways to start really growing your following and getting out there. And the last route is really the obvious route. And you should honestly be doing all these in conjunction to one another. But the last route is just the advertising route, which is simply either paying Instagram/Facebook to advertise content and get more exposure. What I recommend for this, I don't recommend boosting because some people just throw money at the wind. I got a question about this yesterday doing this presentation about boosting. And boosting posts is usually just kind of wasting money. What I will say, if you are going to boost posts, simply look at your posts that have gotten the best engagement and advertise those posts. That's kind of the best way to do it because it's already been tested. It's proven to get better engagement. And how Instagram and Facebook charge you is the least, like if you're able to get a lot of clicks and people are engaging with it at a high rate, it's going to cost you a lot less per engagement. Whereas if less people are responding to it, then it's going to cost you a lot more per engagement. The same with cost per click. So like I said before about that agent, how the real estate average for Facebook leads or Facebook cost per click is $1.80, and we're able to get 500 clicks for only $50. So that costs 10 cents per lead or per click. Sorry, I keep saying lead per click. That was the reason that cost so much less is because the ad was very specific and the copy was written really well. The photo was really well chosen, so it just all came together. So it was a lot more of an engaging piece of content. And Facebook itself actually gives you relevance scores. So that ad actually got a 10 out of 10 for relevance scores. So the least relevant your ad is to the person you're advertising it to, the more it's going to end up costing you in the end. All right, so let's talk about Facebook briefly. So Facebook business page versus personal page. So the important thing to note here is that Facebook business pages get terribly low natural organic engagement. And so Facebook wants you to constantly be advertising your stuff if your business page to continue to grow and get that reach. And so that's why I don't really look at Facebook as much of a branding tool. I see clothing brands that have 1 million followers on Facebook and they're getting 20 likes on Facebook, yet their Instagram page that also has 1 million followers is getting like 30,000 likes. So it's not very beneficial for that, but it is a great lead generation tool. So for running different things back to your lead sites on EasyAgentPro, great for that. What I will say about that, and I'll mention that a little bit probably more at the end of this in a few minutes, is that just like you would, and just like if you're out in public, you don't just go up to somebody and ask for their number. You first start a conversation with them. You get to know each other and see what similar interests you have, and then you connect, and then you exchange information. So one flaw I see with a lot of real estate agents is they just start doing lead generation ads. They just start trying to collect leads, and then either first definitely is their cost per lead is going to be outrageously high. And two, the leads they get aren't going to be really committed leads. If they filled out an open house to see like, oh, where are the open houses in my area, or filled out a home evaluation ad, they just filled that out to get that information. They didn't fill it out because it's you. And that's a big difference. So instead, we should be creating, again, this personal connection with people first. And then those people that respond to that, then using Facebook's tools, you can retarget these people. So then you're really asking information from somebody that's more of a warmer lead. And it's going to cost you a lot less per lead, and people are going to be a lot more responsive to those. And then they're actually going to be more responsive to your nurture program, which we'll talk about on the final slide. And the last thing I'll say for Facebook is to create a community/niche page. Again, there's still a lifetime strategy. So it's not about growing this huge community page or this being the main thing. These are all just different tools and different things you can do. And so, like I was saying before, if you're doing every Saturday, you're talking about cooking, and that's your little video series you're doing, then create a community page around cooking in Santa Monica. And then you invite your friends, and then they start inviting other people, and you don't even have to run this 24/7. All you could do is just once a week, share your cooking video to it and start growing organically there. And again, it doesn't need to be about real estate. It needs to be about other things that you're interested in, because that's how you're going to connect with people. All right, so LinkedIn, my main suggestions here are first, consistently add connections and make sure your page is up to date. And second, you don't need to share everything you're creating or everything you're making to LinkedIn. Instead, I would save it for press hits, listing announcement, articles. And so these can be both original and curated articles you write, or articles that are interesting to you and your business that you can then add your 2 cents on. And then lastly, you can do the same thing on LinkedIn. You could create the same community or niche page as well in there. LinkedIn also does have advertising in there. I haven't played around with too much advertising on LinkedIn. I think if you're a commercial real estate agent, there'd be a little bit more potential there, but the cost per lead on LinkedIn is extremely, extremely high. So that's why I haven't messed around with it too much. And my main thing is really growing a brand and kind of having a constant stream of new clients and just building that relationship. And really, I look at social media as building equity, because in the past with advertising, you're just putting out an ad and then it's gone. It's there one day and it's gone the next. And sure, maybe some people remember your face, but most won't. Whereas when you have a social media platform and you get somebody to follow you, now they're in your ecosystem. They're constantly seeing your messages, constantly seeing your face, and again, really staying top of mind. And if you're doing a good job of staying interesting and being a good storyteller, who else are they? It's going to be obvious who they choose to when they want to sell their home or buy a home. And that's an important thing to note about real estate. It's not just like a typical e-commerce thing where you're able to just, get somebody within a few minutes to buy your product. It's like, it takes time. Not many people purchase a home in their life. And the ones that are fortunate enough to purchase a home don't do it many times in their life. So it's time and space. So that's why social media is so powerful, because you're able to stay in front of different people for a long, long, long period of time and continue to connect with them and build that relationship. All right, so social media advertising, I think this is the last slide. And so the first thing, I mentioned this before, was about creating short-term and long-term goals. And what I meant by that was, instead of just straight up doing a conversion ad and trying to get a lead, instead follow this 3-step process of awareness, consideration, then conversion. So awareness would be first advertising your best performing video that was talking about whatever your passion was. Advertise that to your target demographic. Then follow up by advertising more of a consideration, which would be a video of you talking about real estate or giving 5 tips for new home buyers or whatever the goal is with this campaign, if you're trying to get seller leads or buyer leads or whatnot. And then lastly, then retarget those people with the conversion ad, because now you're not pitching to a cold audience or like a stranger, like I said, asking for their phone number. You're actually already established that relationship, so people are going to be more responsive. And then a little bit of the ins and outs of Instagram is, one, obviously creating your target audience, demographic and interest. Like I said with that other ad at the beginning with that agent in Portland, we just simply targeted women over 40 that lived within, like, I think, a 3-mile radius of the open house. And we had a couple other small metrics in there as well. And then creating an ad, there's a few different things when you first initially create an ad. Optimization. So that's the first one, where you can choose between brand awareness, lead generation, engagement, all these different things. I usually choose traffic, or sorry, my dog's barking in the background. I usually either choose traffic or brand awareness. Those I usually see the best cost per click for. So traffic to the website, or just brand awareness to try to reach as many people and make as many impressions as possible. Next would be time, just how long do you want to run the ad for and how much is your budget going to be. And then placement is interesting. Placement is just, where is the ad going to show up on social media? Is it going to be an Instagram feed, Instagram story, Facebook desktop, mobile, Facebook story, banner, all these different things you can choose from. And so really, I usually just select all. It does partially depend on the content and, again, what your goals are. So one thing, the benefit of obviously having somebody do this for you is that you could have one open house and then your agency would make all the different images and the different copy for each specific placement so that it looks the best in that placement. And that's in line with the creative. The creative is really the ad copy and the actual image itself. And so that's where there's so many different variables in Facebook advertising. And that's why, for me, the key is to, again, just create those connections and really get yourself out there, and then you can retarget the people that already showed interest in what you've been talking about. And lastly, the most important thing to know is, if you are going to do lead generation, you must 100% have some type of lead follow-up and nurture program. If you do not have a follow-up program in mind and like a consistent way of staying in contact with these leads, then then don't even do the lead campaigns. It's just a waste of time and waste of money. And so there's this site called Agentology that I recommend for everybody to use. And what's really cool about Agentology is basically they're your 24/7 marketing team, where when a new lead comes in within a few minutes, they're emailing, texting, and calling them on behalf of your team. So not only does it make you look better, like you have this full force marketing plan, but they also just convert leads a lot better. So there's different statistics. One of them is, if you follow up with a lead within 5 minutes, you convert, I think it's 67% higher on that lead than if you follow up in even 30 minutes. And the vast majority of leads come in during either the evening times or the weekends when we're not necessarily responsive. And I saw another thing that said agents usually follow up with a lead 1.3 times, where it usually takes like 6 to 8 within the first even day or few days for that to happen. And the cool thing about this Agentology is they will text, email, and call and figure out how the person likes to communicate the best. So it's not as much about pestering them. It's more just figuring out, how do they like to communicate? Do they like to talk on the phone? Do they like to do text? Do they like to email, and then you'll see all these transcriptions and stuff too. So then you can see what leads are warm and which ones are colder and hotter and all that stuff. So that's just one site that I know of. I'm not sure if there's other sites out there that do the same. But the point is, either hire that company, hire an assistant, hire a marketing team. But if you're going to do lead generation, you definitely need to have a nurture program in place. So that being said, social media is the most powerful communications tool in the history of humanity. And again, regardless if Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever platform dies or whatever platform rises, the ability that we have to communicate now is unparalleled at any time in history. And so if you're trying to grow a personal brand, in which every real estate agent is, you better be using this and better be speaking your truth and sharing your story. And the reason you can do that is because you are more than an agent, so let the world know it. So yeah, that's it for today, guys. Let me actually put my little slide there if you want to contact me. My name is, again, Rhett. So my email is rhett, R-H-E-T-T, at resocial.media. RESocial stands for Rhett, and stands for Emily, my fiance. We found it together, and also stands for real estate. So it works out perfectly. My number is 805-218-2174. And the social, like I said, I have a motivational page that has about 300,000 followers now. We're reaching close to 10 million people a month. That's called You Can Have Success, just how it's spelled out. But we're going to have an resocial.media account for Instagram, where basically talking about all the things we talked about today and all the new stuff as time goes on. Related to real estate and marketing. So thank you guys so much for watching this. I really appreciate your attention, whether you're on for the full time or 5 minutes. I really appreciate it, and hope you guys have a great day.
I appreciate it, Rhett. Thanks for that awesome presentation. That was pretty cool. Again, Rhett and I did have a conversation via podcast. I did post a link to the podcast as well as Rhett's contact information in the chat. We didn't have any big questions, which is kind of good. So we'll stay around for another 5 or 6 minutes. If you folks do have questions, we'll be happy to chat. Other than that, we will call it a Wednesday and then be back to our normal schedule where we will have a podcast posted every Monday or Wednesday, as well as another class. So we'll hang out here for a minute. If you folks do have questions, feel free to comment, and then you can go about your day. Looks like people are just slowly trickling out. So no questions. Again, thanks again, Rhett. We will have him on more classes once he comes up with some more content. You folks have a great rest of your day. If you do have questions, feel free to email Rhett. You can also email me if you do have any questions as well. And we will chat with you next time.